Jared Goff and Caleb Williams are looking to bounce back in week 2 as the Bears fly to Detroit to take on the Lions. Both teams are 0-1 after their tough division loss in week 1. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to be breaking down this week 2 matchup and provide our predictions at the very end of the video. So be sure to leave a comment. Let us know who you think is going to win and why. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button to get notified when new videos come out. And Ryan, this is a big matchup here. The return of Ben Johnson back to Detroit. He was the offensive coordinator
Oh,
for
yeah.
the Lions over the past several years, and he had his first head coaching game, well, I guess regular season game for the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football, but unfortunately fell just short to the Minnesota Vikings. I, I think the team started off hot, but similar to last year, though, I felt like with this Bears offense, they just kind of stalled out in the second half. I think some of that is due to the Minnesota Vikings defense making adjustments.
Yeah.
I think Caleb Williams is super talented. I think he's just he threw a lot of high balls today. There were a couple of shots. DJ Moore hit was pretty dangerous. I feel like there was a couple other ones. It's a dangerous sport. It was just high. I feel like some balls got away from him,
Yeah.
and it felt like he can sling it, but there's maybe just got to work a little bit more on that control and that placement. But in general, though, I feel like this team had opportunities. We've talked about this a lot, especially when a whole new offensive system comes in, especially 2-1 with Ben Johnson, a whole new offensive system comes in. It might take some time for the team to fully get into that rhythm there. And I think we saw glimpses of it, but I just think in general, I think it was a week 1 matchup where they got bested by the Minnesota Vikings defense. I think still some growing that needs to be done by Caleb Williams and this team because in the first half of the game they dominated. Bears defense dominated them. Dennis Allen did a good job calling game.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really till honestly, ironically, after that pick six, where the momentum shifted. And ironically now, in hindsight, it's like the momentum shifted from Minnesota. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
we actually need to open the playbook up a little bit. And JJ McCarthy started to sling the ball a little bit more, and that created some more space and almost kind of relaxed him a little bit, which normally doesn't happen like that. I thought the Bears were going to kind of ride off into the sunset with this game here. But Ryan, want to throw it over to you here. Detroit Lions went into Lambeau and had a tough loss. But to be fair, I know the Lions won the division last year, but that I think just with all the coaching changes that they had, kind of expected that a little bit, in my opinion. What do you think the Lions need to improve on after their loss, and also the Bears need to improve on as well before going into this week 2 matchup?
Yeah, I think you kind of touched on the main thing there for the Bears is I felt like they had momentum at times. They just didn't fully capitalize on it. They really, uh, I'll say they scored 17 points. The last touchdown was, I don't want to say garbage time, but Minnesota definitely was just trying to make them dink and dunk their way down the field. And it, they ended up scoring there late in the game to make it a one score game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, we saw some of the concerns last year that we saw out of Caleb Williams. He can make all the throws. He has all the talent in the world. He's a fantastic athlete. But when it just comes to playing in an offensive system, he sometimes struggles to just stay on page, stay in phase, and do the simple things right. And I feel like it's almost like a heavyweight boxer that has just like immense power, where it's like he doesn't need to learn a jab or a left hook or how to piece combinations together because he has that knockout punch that can just overrule all his mistakes. And that worked for Caleb Williams up until now. And now it's just not working quite the same anymore. He still makes those highlight reel throws every now and then, but you mentioned he missed some throws. He had a touchdown to DJ Moore there with I think like three or 4 minutes left that they probably would have gotten the ball back if he completes that throw. And then he threw the hospital ball to DJ Moore on that same possession. Other times throughout the game, he was high on some throws, and so I think they're just like you said, needs to be that refinement there. Also, he's learning a new system. There's probably some new footwork, some new terminology, new reads. There's a lot to process and learn in this new system. So I think for the Bears coming into this matchup, just continuing to round out those details and make sure you're not continuing to hurt yourself like you have been or like you did here in week 1. And then for Detroit, it's kind of odd because I feel like it's kind of the same thing. They are a good team. They have a lot of talent. They did have a lot of coaching turnover. So now it's just these new coaches are getting on the same page and doing what they can to continue to be good. But Ben Johnson and Jared Goff had such great continuity and communication as a play caller and quarterback. Aaron Glenn on that defense as well. So now new people are stepping up into those roles, and they're just trying to figure it all out. Still at
Yeah.
that point. And then you also look, they lost some players, Kevin Zietler on the offensive side of the ball, Carlton Davis, and a few others on the defensive side of the ball. So now they're having young guys step up and fill in those roles there as well. So it's still a really talented Detroit team. They just also need to continue to polish up on some of the details. And they just happened to go against a team that had a lot of continuity that just added a star player on top of all of that continuity as well in week one. So I think both of these teams continue to polish up on the details, and I like their chances here in week one. This is good, or in week two. This is going to be a good game.
Yeah, I really don't think anybody, especially after the Micah Parsons trade, I mean, just a week before the season starts, I don't think anybody was going to Lambeau and losing that
No.
and going to win that game, going to beat the Packers. I just think with everything going on, and I think that it's kind of what we expected from the Lions, like with the coaching changes as well. Is like you still have Dan Campbell, yes, but they lost Ben Johnson, who had been calling that system, and everybody had been in that system for 3 or 4 years now. They lost Aaron Glenn, defensive side of the ball, also too, going up against arguably one of the better offenses in. I was gonna say one of the best offenses, but I think that Matt LaFleur offense is going to be top 5 this year. Just
Oh
not
yeah.
going to have too many superstar players, but it's just going to be overall well rounded. And it's just one of the better offenses, and I think the Bears offense can get into that. I think it's just going to take some time. I also think too there's a couple of maybe coaching decisions as well that Ben Johnson's going to learn on. Like for example, like so their first drive of the game went down, scored a touchdown, pretty easy as well. Then they had a punt, but then the drive in the second quarter though, where they turned it over on downs from the Minnesota 24, that was one where if hindsight, you're up 7-3, you kick that field goal, you're up 10-3, and then like can build on your lead a little bit, take the points there, and instead you still kept it just a 4-point game. And heck, those 3 points would have been very nice, obviously, as they ended up losing by 3. So I do think kind of as the team keeps getting better and they get more used to the Ben Johnson system. I do think the Bears offense will continue to improve, and I think by week 18 they could also be one of the better offenses in the league. 'Cause it really also too wasn't even just Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had a lot of very bright moments as well. I think we were
Yeah.
more recognized the moments from the end of the game, but I thought in the beginning, I thought they were running the ball well. DeAndre Swift had a very solid game as well too. 17 carries, 53 yards, and he also had 3 catches for 12 yards as well too. So a dual threat quarterback. Also got a lot of players involved. Like DJ Moore had 3 catches. Olamide Key as former Falcon, love seeing him as well do well. He had 4 catches. Ramadunze had 6 catches. Very quiet 6-catch game. Cole Shot involved. Luther Burden, he even had a catch. Fortunately for negative yards, but we won't talk about that nearly as much. And so I think it's still a young team that's just going to keep on improving. And I just think this is one of those games. Maybe this is one of the things they had to go through this kind of loss here so they can kind of check themselves, remember what they were thinking in these moments and how they can adjust when playing later on in the season here. Because I think the Bears can still make a playoff push. When it comes to this game here, I'm going to be very curious to see how the Lions offensive line is going to be able to combat these Bears defensive front 7, especially in the first half. The Bears were getting after JJ McCarthy, really capitalizing on that Vikings offensive line. Momentum definitely did shift, I think, as maybe the Bears were starting to let off a little bit. Jared Goff's nowhere near as mobile as JJ McCarthy. They're able to provide that pressure. I think they can get them off kilter here as well. And I think on the flip side then too, can the Detroit Lions, can they kind of manage some of their injuries to continue to keep on providing good pressure on Caleb Williams and put him in situations to make some errant throws. I say that to Darren Arnold. He left the game. Terrion Arnold. He left the game with a groin injury against the Packers. So we're going to have to monitor that status as a whole as one of their top corners as well. You're going to want all your best secondary going up against DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and this Ben Johnson offense. And so I think if they're able to provide pressure, similar to how Minnesota was able to in that second half, get Caleb Williams to make some errant throws, make him start to rush and feel like he has to do more than he has to. I do think the Lions defense can also capitalize. So to me, I think that the name of the game is going to be the team I think that makes less mistakes. And when I just think of these two rosters as of right now, I think it is going to lean in favor to the home team, the Detroit Lions. I just think they're going to have less opportunities to make mistakes as a whole. I think it's going to be the first game at home. I think it's going to be the first game against their former offensive coordinator. So there's going to be a lot of great memories as well too. But I also think too that friendly rivalry of we don't want you to beat us,
Yeah.
especially the first game away from us. So I do think it is going to be Detroit pulling this game out.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Detroit. I still think there's just going to be too many mistakes on the Bears' part coming into this matchup, and I feel like with the continuity there with Dan Campbell on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like they will be able to be uh, somewhat disruptive and play to a high level there on the defensive side of the ball. And offensively, I do think that they're kind of due for a bounce back game. This offense is too talented to only put up what they put up 6 points, or what was it? What was the final score of
Uh,
that game?
13.
13 points.
Yeah.
And this offense is too talented to only be putting up 13 points. And so I think that is going to be the big thing here. Is I think the Lions are just going to be a little too talented for the Bears, and it's going to be a good game. I definitely think that this will come down to a final possession or be a one-score game there at the end. But yeah, I just like the Lions in this matchup. So
It's
let's
going
go
to
with
be fun. It's going to be a good environment there.
yeah. No, I agree. Ford Field is going to be rocking. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead in this NFC North. Yeah, NFC North matchup in week 2.
Yeah.
Will it be the Chicago Bears? Will it be the Detroit Lions? And then that we'll see you guys next time.